What is going on, guys? I am the FD Guru, bringing to you guys another episode of my daily fantasy sports podcast. And today we have a pretty big NBA slate on our hands. There's a couple of injuries we got to keep an eye on, a couple of questionable game time decisions, per usual, always a pain in the ass. But we're going to fight through it, and we're going to put together some really good picks so you guys can get a head start on making your teams for tonight. So for injuries, there's some big ones we want to look at. Westbrook is out tonight. He had a pretty gruesome looking injury in the last game. It ended up not being as bad as it looked. It's just a little sprain. He should be out probably just a couple games, if that. So we have him out. That's going to open up obviously a lot of usage. Leonard's expected to come back from his foot injury. Whiteside is probable. Donovan Mitchell's probable. He's been out for the past couple of games. Love obviously out. Peyton is a game time. We want to keep an eye on that because when he's out, Drew Holiday gets a ton of usage. There's really no other news that's anything different. Dragic is questionable, so if he's out, Tyler Johnson makes for an awesome play. Jeff Teague's out. We got to look at D Rose. And then if Covington's out, we will look at Dario Saric. But we'll look at that as we go from game to game. First game, OKC at Cleveland. Like I said, Westbrook's out. You want to lock in Dennis Schroeder at 6,400. He's probably going to be starting. He's been reaching value even when Westbrook is playing. It's a pretty easy matchup at Cleveland tonight. They should have no issue grabbing the W even without Westbrook. But the game should definitely stay close. I think Schroeder just needs to be in all your lineups tonight. And you could even squeeze Paul George in there at 10,000. He's a guy who's probably going to get you 50 fantasy points tonight with no Westbrook. We saw him at the end of last game against the Pelicans when Westbrook went down in the third quarter. George kind of took the responsibility on his hands, and he started to just go off in that fourth quarter. I think he's going to have a lot of usage tonight, obviously. Pairing him and Schroeder definitely isn't a bad idea tonight. I don't really love anyone else. I do actually like Jeremy Grant a lot, too. He's been playing a ton. Really been grabbing the minutes over Patrick Patterson as of late. He's really been impressing the staff. He's getting 30 minutes or more every single game. At 5,400, that's a very fair price. His usage should go up a little more too. Obviously, when Westbrook isn't on the court, all the guys have to step up in their own way. So there's going to be more scoring opportunity for Grant as well. He's been really, really consistent in his game log. He could easily be a cash game play as well at power forward. Detroit at Orlando. This game isn't great. I don't love it. There's really no injuries to take advantage of, and everyone's pretty fairly priced. Vegas has this game at a 3 spread in the favor of the Pistons with a 211 over. I don't love it. I'm not going to waste too much time talking about it. New York at Atlanta. You can maybe do Trae Young. He's been a huge GPP guy this year. Just because he has awesome upside, he's going to get his 30 minutes. I'm not going to say he's a cash game play, but the matchup is pretty good for him at home. This game should feature some pretty fast-paced plays here. But as far as injuries or usage in this game, we got Taron Prince back. He was out last night. That opened up a lot of usage for DeAndre Bembry, who actually played terrible. He was chalk last night and ended up doing pretty bad. Kevin Huerter ended up being a really good punt play last night, getting 28.5. He's out tonight for personal reasons, so maybe that'll open up some more minutes for Bembry again. If you want to roll him in a GPP, his ownership should be a little down coming off of a bad game, but his usage is still there. His potential is still there. 4,900 is not a bad price for him. He's going to see mid-20s in minutes. I don't mind him at all in this game. Also, Enes Kanter's coming off of like a career game last night, 23 and 24. No one had him. He ended up being on the winning tournament team. I'm not going to suggest picking him. The Knicks are really hard to predict who's going to play, so I'm just all set with them. San Antonio at Miami. Dwayne Wade is out. That could open up some more minutes for Tyler Johnson. And then obviously if Dragic is out tonight, you got to keep an eye on that. He's questionable. Tyler Johnson will become an automatic cash game play, so we'll see. Richardson's been pretty solid, but this is a tough matchup against the Spurs. And then a great punt play in this game is Davis Bertans. We have no Rudy Gay again. He drew the start last time and saw 25 minutes. He did only get 13 fantasy points. But like FanDuel is this year, they dropped the lowest score. This isn't a bad punt play at all. You definitely want to have a minimum salary guy in your lineup. This is not a bad spot to do that. Chicago at New Orleans. At the beginning, I said keep an eye on Peyton. He has a game time decision tag. If he is out like he has been, expect Drew Holiday to pick up a ton of usage, as he usually does. And even at 8,800, I like his price. He's going to get you over 40 fantasy points every time Elfrid Payton is not on the court. So you could honestly lock him in cash games if there is no Payton. Also look towards Anthony Davis's way. I think he's easily going to get value, but the only issue is if he's going to be on the court for all 4 quarters. This game has the best risk of a blowout, 10.5. Chicago's pretty stinky, but it does have a high over-under, so if you want to take the risk, it's not that risky, 10.5. They shouldn't blow them out, honestly. The Pelicans aren't a team that normally blows out teams. You know, normally you got to worry about that with the Warriors. There's not many teams you really got to worry about blowing other teams out on a nightly basis. Davis is not a bad play here at 11.8. He could easily get 60 fantasy points. He's coming off of a really bad game against OKC. I think this drives his ownership pretty low. He's just not going to be as highly owned as Anthony Davis should be against a bad Bulls team. You're going to have the young rookie Wendell Carter probably covering him. He's going to have his hands full, so expect Davis to take advantage of this matchup. He's not a bad play. Tough to squeeze him in the cash games, but he's a good GPP option for tonight. Philadelphia at Indiana. I don't love this game. The only injury really to open things up is Covington. He's a game-time decision. If he is out, that could open up more minutes for guys like J.J. Redick or Dario Saric. Saric is a crazy low 4,700, but for good reason. He's been playing pretty poopy as of late. I just can't trust him. If Covington is out, you can make the argument that Saric is a decent play at 4,700. The usage should go up. He's really going to be the third scorer behind Simmons and Embiid, so you could really have an argument for that if Covington is out. If he's not, then this game, I don't know. Oladipo's always a good GPP guy. He's 8,900. It's good to see his price below 9K. He's a guy that can easily get up towards 50 fantasy points, so he's not a bad GPP option for tonight. Darren Collison isn't great, but if you wanted to match him up with Oladipo, they can have good games together. He's going to have the minutes. 5,000 isn't bad. He only needs to get like 2,500 or 25 fantasy points, and I don't think that's way too much to ask for. Definitely a risky play, though. Denver at Memphis. I don't know. This game is tough. Jamal Murray's coming off of a career game against the Celtics. You can't expect him to do that again. 7,700 is way too hefty of a price for me. You can maybe look towards Kyle Anderson's way. He matches up pretty well against this Nuggets team. He crushed value last game. He's going to have the minutes. Probably going to start. I definitely don't mind Kyle Anderson, especially for cash games at 4,800. Millsap is probable in this game, so no usage opening up there. And then, Gasol, Jokic, pretty normal pricing there. Nothing stands out to me. Dallas at Utah, another great risk for a blowout here. Utah's given up a whopping 10 points here at home. Big reason for this is Donovan Mitchell is back. I'm really off of most people in this game, if not all of them. Derek Favors' price went up a little bit. He was a good price when he was like 4,500 last game, but I really don't like anyone in this game. It should be pretty slow paced. Only a 214 over under. I don't love it. We'll move right into Toronto and Sacramento. These last 2 games are pretty juicy. One thing that popped out to me when I was looking at DraftKings today, which I normally don't mention DraftKings plays in this, but I do have DraftKings on my site now, just for individual purchases. De'Aaron Fox is 6,300 on DraftKings tonight. I mean, I'm not saying he should be 8,000. I think he's overpriced on FanDuel, but he should definitely not be 6,300. I'm definitely going to be locking him into my DraftKings lineups tonight, guys. 6,300 is just way too cheap. So if you're looking to get over on DK as well tonight, lock him in. This game has a huge over-under of 232. It shouldn't turn into a blowout. I also like Kyle Lowry. I know Kawhi Leonard is probably coming back tonight, but even with Leonard back, Lowry should still get his points. 8,800 is a pretty fair price. He needs almost 45 fantasy points to reach value. I think he's going to do that in this game. They're going to rely on him and Leonard pretty heavily. They're going to need Toronto, or Toronto's going to need their stars like Lowry and Leonard to score if they're going to win on the road here in Sacramento. Both teams play pretty fast pace, so I like Lowry. I like Fox on DK. I don't really like anyone else. Leonard is expensive at 5,100. You can maybe look at Serge Ibaka. He's been playing lights out lately. He only played 13 minutes. I think he was in foul trouble all game, so don't expect him to do that again. He's probably going to get 25 minutes. If you want to spend the 6,200, you can. He's got sick defensive stats. He gets steals and blocks every game. He needs 30 fantasy points to reach value. Going to be tough how they match him up. I think they're going to want him on Willie Cauley-Stein. I don't see Jonas Valanciunas starting this game and playing the bulk of the minutes against WCS. I just think he's way too fast of a player for Valanciunas, and he doesn't match up well. So once we see closer to tip-off, if Ibaka's starting, he's probably going to be more part of the game plan for Toronto, so he's definitely a fair play at 6,200. Minnesota at LA. Jeff Teague is out tonight. As long as Derrick Rose is healthy, he should get plenty of minutes off the bench. 5,500 is an awesome play here. Definitely a cash game play. Played 34 minutes last game, but it wasn't last night, which is huge. So he should have no resting issues tonight. LeBron, you could spend for 11-2. That's not terrible. He hasn't really been playing great as of late, but if you look at his last game against Minnesota, he did get a 60 spot, one of his best games of the year. So this game is going to be fast-paced, and the matchups are pretty good. 239 is a stupid over-under. I think it's on national TV tonight, so definitely a good game to pick from. There's just no injury value to take advantage of. I think Kyle Kuzma is going to go overlooked tonight because everyone's healthy, but he still gets his 30 minutes even when he comes off the bench. He's only 6,300. I think he's a pretty fair play here. He needs 30 fantasy points to reach value. He's a good GPP play. He's got a pretty high ceiling, a pretty high floor. I definitely don't mind Kuzma here. As far as centers go, Towns is looking like Towns again. 9,400 is a fair price. You could definitely pick him too. I don't hate that. He's going to be on the court for a while in this game. It's going to be close. I don't like JaVale McGee at 7,500. His price is just way too high now for his inconsistency. But that'll sum it up for tonight, guys. Until next time, I am the FD Guru, and I am signing off.